Welcome back to another episode of Be Our Guest here on Musical Theater Radio. I am your host, as always, Jean-Paul Yovanov. Way back in June of 2019, I interviewed today's guest for the first time. We talked about his career, how he got started in the business, and his many works, including From Here to Eternity. Fast forward 12 months, we are at the very beginning of the pandemic. There's no theater, and we're all trying to figure out what to do. And my guest suggested a virtual reunion of some of the people involved with From Here to Eternity. So we did it. We created the one night only event in June of 2020. We had the lyricist, Sir Tim Rice, the book writer, Bill Oakes, as well as cast, and about 100 fans come out and spend a couple of hours together. In 2021, we partnered up again and did a virtual musical theater workshop where we had a panel of industry professionals from around the world talk. We introduced 2 new musicals to the world and did some networking afterwards, which leads us up to today. We are going to talk about the upcoming revised production of From Here to Eternity with the composer, incredible friend of the radio station, and all-around great guy, the one, the only, Stuart Brayson. Stuart, it is so great to see you again. We've done so much stuff together. It's been fantastic.
Hello, Jean-Paul. I mean, it is. It's wonderful to see you again, but it's also fantastic, I think, that we kept going during lockdown and we were creative. We didn't stop, and we made things kind of happen. So, congratulations to you for listening to some of my crackpot ideas and working with them and going with them. And I think they were really good. It kept positive, which, if nothing else. So I think that was a major part of it.
For sure. I'm glad we got to do all that stuff because, honestly, the pandemic, as terrible as it was, we would never have done any of that stuff. We would never have gotten together.
I think it was a case of like we had to think outside the box, and as a creative person, that's good sometimes. Sometimes it's actually a good thing where you go, well, how are we going to keep going and keep our sanity through this whole thing, and also entertain people, because that's what we are. We love to entertain, and I think we did that well.
We did. Well, let's talk about entertainment. The production that's coming up in October of 2022, From Here to Eternity. So tell us a little bit about that and how, the process and the impetus to relaunch it again.
Well, it is kind of, it didn't stop, even though we got it into town a few years ago in London, and we tried it out there, and we found that it worked nearly. It did work, but it was a big monster to make a success. And after we closed in London the first time, we tried it out in America, and that's what we've been doing over the last few years. We kind of fine-tuning, working around a new script, working around new songs, and trying a different approach. And then we've had this great opportunity to come back into London now with a fantastic producer, Katie Lipson, who was really kind of, behind the whole thing and give us this idea, well, why don't you downsize it and try it out at the Charing Cross Theatre? So that's where we're going, and it's really looking good. We've just had a fantastic script meeting last week, and we're opening in a few weeks, and we're going to rehearsals even closer than that. So it's very exciting.
Well, that Katie is a fantastic person. I've interviewed her. She was part of our virtual theater panel, so I think you're in good hands from a production side for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. I understand you just got it cast. So tell us a little bit about the cast that is joining the team.
Well, I have to say, I kind of have to thank the casting agent and Katie. They've been working really solidly over the last few months to find a new cast, but also a shorter cast, a smaller cast. We've kind of downsized the size of the production generally, so it was kind of difficult for them to do. But I think it was a great challenge, and they're brilliant. And we went in to watch the last stages of the auditions, me and Tim, and we are really excited by the talent on display, and also it's kind of feels like a very young cast, and giving opportunities to a lot of people who are kind of starting off in the business, which I think this show is always trying to do, you know, and I try to do that with most of my shows, which is kind of give new people a chance, because I like to write new work and I like to see new talent performing the new work. So it's a very, very exciting cast, and diverse as well. It's probably far more diverse than we had the last time we did it in London. So it's really good, and I think people are going to enjoy seeing new faces on stage and new voices as well.
Fantastic. That's awesome. And I understand you're still, even as we're speaking, still working through the show. What do you think has changed outside of, you said it was smaller from the 2013 to the American to, we'll say now. What is that change being, and why?
Well, kind of like what it feels like is it's almost like we've looked at the whole story from kind of a different standpoint. And also working the show around the theatre, because it's a smallish theatre from what we've done in the past. And you have to accept that when you work in a different theatre, you've got to work in that room. You know, you have to think, well, will this work? We haven't got 30 people that are going to be able to come on at this point, or 21 girls or whatever we had in London the first time, which was ludicrous. I mean, it was almost, you know, like a Cecil B. DeMille production. So we've had to downsize, but that doesn't mean that you don't have the spectacle, or you don't have the excitement, or you don't have the lovely magic that theatre can provide. But I think we just had to use our imagination and try and tell the story in a more intimate way, which in a lot of ways feels, maybe we should have done this in the first place. And then, you know, we've kind of went round it back to front. But, you know, that's showbiz. We tried it in a bigger place. Now we're doing it smaller, but it's also, we've got a small band. And from the music point of view, that's what really excites me, is to kind of get back to my roots. Because I came, as you know, from pop music and rock and roll and all of that. And I'm used to working with a 5-piece band. So it's kind of, we're taking it into that world. And so it's got the intimacy. I think the room will just make it far more lively in lots of ways. But it's really exciting. But in a lot of ways, I don't know the whole sound and what it's going to be, because we haven't got into a rehearsal situation where everybody is kind of in the room. So I've met the actors, but I haven't met the band yet. So it's all kind of fresh, kind of exciting.
That's great. I'm so happy for you for getting it back on stage. So my question is, who initiated this new production? How did that come about?
Well, I met Katie about, I don't know, just before the lockdown, really. And I don't know who introduced me to her, but it was kind of, when we met, we were kind of kindred spirits, because she's been pioneering new work, and I've been kind of doing that for ages. So when we got together, we had similar approach, and we hit it off from day one. And we were talking about this show, but also some of my other work, and it just felt obvious that, well, let's get to do this. And then I introduced Katie to Tim Rice, and as soon as Tim met her, you also got this sense of, well, this is the future, you know, this is somebody who's kind of coming through now and making big waves, and it's made it very exciting. So it was kind of Katie and me, and then getting Tim involved, and then taking the essences of the American production and saying, well, can we bring that to London? But we're not losing sight of what we did when we opened the first time in London, because there was so many good things in that. And so it's kind of gone on that journey, and it's kind of fascinating. The funny thing is, Jean-Paul, I find that when I'm doing stuff, I feel like sometimes I'm waving the banner for new work. And so I feel responsible to go, well, I want to get something into town to just prove it can be done, that you can do new stuff, that you can write new songs, and you can have new actors and a new scenario, and put something on, and hopefully have whether it's a commercial hit, it's something that entertains. So I feel responsible not just for my career, but for the careers of other composers and other people in this business. It's important that there's somebody doing it, you know, and making it happen. And then other people get a sense of, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. And so I do feel a responsibility on my shoulders for that. And so I'm quite proud of myself for sticking at this one and getting it back into London.
We need champions of new work like that. And it's so hard to get new stuff on, only because it's art versus profit, and it's such a delicate balance. But sometimes you just have to take that risk.
Well, it's the case of the jukebox scenario against the kind of what I call traditional, or whatever you want to call it, musical theatre, which is based around a new score.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching a documentary last night of Stephen Sondheim, Company. I think it's I don't know where I saw it, but I was watching it last night, which was fascinating. It was all about the cast recording 1970 original kind of Company production. And I thought it was so exciting. And I thought, how many people actually get that opportunity now to do that and put it on, you know? And you had Hal Prince and Sondheim and some great performers in it. And I thought, that's what it's all about. That's what I got into this business for, to do new work, to write new songs and have fresh challenges. So it's kind of is important to be, you know, the water tester for everyone in doing something, getting it out there and proving it can be done.
Yeah, and you're proving it. It's going to happen in October of this year, so that's fantastic. And I know I'm jumping around. I always jump around because I come up with different ideas. So, what was the difference between the London, the original London, and the New York? Because you're talking, there's a a difference.
I think the London one, what we ended up doing was, like I said, if we'd gone to where we're going now, to Charing Cross, and we did it small, we would have got that natural progression of getting bigger. We kind of jumped straight in. We got the opportunity of that theatre, which was brilliant. You don't turn these things down. And there was a lot of money involved in the whole thing. And so everybody, it all becomes big and everything becomes bigger. And I was responsible for a lot of that with the band. You had like 17 players in the pit. Everything became like huge. And so it kind of, the sense of the intimacy is lost in certain ways. And also, I think also because it was a big show and a big West End opening, obviously Tim Rice, he hadn't done anything for a long time, new work-wise. We got a lot of publicity, and you found that there's a lot of people out there wanting to scratch your eyes out, you know, trying to be very critical and looking for the downsides of something instead of looking at the positive. We were very fortunate that we found a loyal audience that got it and got the idea of it and realized we were doing something kind of different about different characters, different people, and different scenarios that aren't usually on in the mainstream West End theatre world. So I'm proud of us for doing that. But commercially, it's so hard to keep those things running and have a big smash hit and all of that stuff. So the difference is now, when we went to America, we had to learn from what we did in London and also then adapt it for an American audience, because it's a different world altogether. And we did the first version in America in a place called Finger Lakes, and really it was a smash hit there. It did so well there. But again, it's in New York State, and it's in the middle of kind of nowhere, really. So then we were trying to get it to Broadway, and we're still trying to do that. But the sense of coming back to London, it kind of feels like we're coming home, but maybe where we should have done the show in the first place, in a smaller, more intimate place. And then from this, hopefully we can take it on the road, and it will get bigger again. I'm sure it will. But we maybe find a better way of telling the story with an intimacy. And then you can introduce more characters and a bigger band and whatever.
Maybe New York was your out-of-town tryout.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised with this show, because it's kind of gone through all these different routes. but it's still here, you know. I mean, they
Yeah.
tried to knock us the first time, but we still managed to get a film made. We still managed to get an album went #1. We still managed to kind of, against all the odds, it kind of just won't go away. And I think it's because it is such a great story, and a great title. And there's some great moments in this show, and that's made an impression on people, a lot of young people.
It definitely has, because I know when we put on that one night only reunion, we had no idea what we were doing. We were making stuff up because it was the beginning of the pandemic, and we had no idea how many people came. But we had, like I said, at least 100 people, and this is new, so we had no idea if anybody was going to come out. The concept, but it was the draw of your show, and I know there was so many people that.
But it's nice because we get fans from bizarre places, like Japan and Ireland and Russia. I mean, all sorts of strange places, not strange places, but places where the show's never performed before. And it's kind of lovely. It's put a lot of people together that love the story and hopefully love you. I'm very thrilled that we're getting another chance to bring it back into London and find a new audience. And I want more people to see it performed. And it's like I said, we've got kind of new characters in this one as well, which is going to be interesting.
So, well, let's talk about that then. How did that process of creating the new characters? I guess Bill looked at the script and just went back to the resource material. Or
Bill's been involved, and we've also had Donald Rice, and Donald's been great and very much to do with putting some great new ideas in the storyline and finding a way of telling this with a bit more intimacy or from a different perspective. It's the same story, but it's kind of told in a different way. And so we're using kind of, I mean, it's not a trade secret, but we've got Mrs. Kipfer now is kind of far more of a major role, where beforehand she was in the show, but not really in the show, if you know what I mean. Now she's kind of like a really big part, which is fascinating to have a more older character, and yet you've got all these youngsters around her. So I think we're kind of taking a lot of interest in boxes here. So. And she's got, some singing to do this time, a lot more singing. So that's what's going to be exciting to see whether these new songs we've written go down.
So I no, okay. I'm gonna admit, anywhere I've read, I've never heard Donald's name anywhere. Tell us a little bit about Donald.
Donald is Tim's son. And he's been just completely mad on the show from day one, and always had some great ideas. And Donald was more involved in the last production on making. We brought out a couple of records, Fight the Fight. I think we brought out Love Me Forever Today as singles, and he was really involved in that process, and also the videos, because he's more of a movie guy, so he was doing the videos for them. And he's a great writer, so he's got more involved in the writing side of it. And also it's good to have a fresh approach and somebody coming in and coming up with some new ideas. So with the director and Donald, I mean, they've kind of taken the story in a different slant. So we've had to adapt songs to that. Tim and I have come up with new ways of telling the story musically as well. So I don't want people to think, it's not the From Here to Eternity that we love or whatever, because there's always that tendency where you've got these fans who love the show so much that they've seen the movie or they've heard the record. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be disappointed. But I think also we're going to find a new audience, and it just feels like a younger company as well, and in a smaller environment. So let's see what happens. And also the visual side of it is a lot more, the production we did the first time was kind of, the staging was far more traditional and kind of old fashioned in lots of ways. This is a lot more contemporary, as are the arrangements musically. So kind of bits of it, let's say it might work, but I'm sure they will. I mean, I'm very excited by it.
What? You got to try, right? If you don't try, then what's the point? Whether it succeeds, it fails, it's somewhere in the middle. If you don't try, you'll never know. And
Exactly.
kudos to you
Exactly.
for just.
And I just want to sit in a theatre in London listening to my tunes again, John Paul. I've had a few years of sitting listening to everybody else's. So, you know, and I've had a bit grumble about that, but I'm back in town again. So that's really exciting from my point of view.
That's awesome. That's so fantastic. So Stuart, how do people tell us a little bit about the how, what, when, where for the show, and how they can get tickets and more information about it?
Well, it's all the website's up and running. So if they can, or just go to Charing Cross Theatre, it's all set up, and you can get the tickets. Where I think the opening night is on October the 29th. And sorry, the first night of previews is the 29th, and I think the opening night's November the 8th. So, and we're running through to I think it's December the 17th, I think it is.
Something like
I
that.
think that's our last night, and we've got the World Cup football going on kind of this Christmas time. So it's going to be like, you can either go and see the England games or come and see From Here to Eternity. And if England are playing really awfully, I think you maybe want to go and see our show. But I think it's going to be a fascinating December, you know, because it's kind of lots of exciting stuff going on. But isn't it wonderful that we've got theatre back again? You know, that we're able to go into a theatre.
For sure.
It wasn't that long ago we couldn't even get in one, you know, or we had to sit with masks on or whatever. So it's great that we're able to go and see stuff again.
Yeah, I've been.
But I've got lots of other new work going, Jean Paul, as well. Lots of my other shows happening. So hopefully, if anyone really likes From Here to Eternity, they're going to engage in all these other new things that I've got in the pipeline, and realize that although I'm extremely proud and happy that people know me for anything, and so it's wonderful that they like From Here to Eternity, but they'll also support my other shows, because there's a lot of good stories that I'm being involved in, and also some good songs. So hopefully they will able to, you know, be fans of the other stuff as well.
Well, if you get a production for those, you know, you're coming back on, we're going to talk about them and help promote the heck out of those. So,
well, I shall do, because you can't get rid of me, Jean Paul.
and I don't want.
I can't get rid of you.
I know.
No, but I think it's going to be fascinating. But so when are we going to meet? When are we going to get together in the flesh?
I was hoping to get there for you know, the show, but like I told you off the air, I'm directing a new work, and that goes up the end of November, and I think I got some early stuff in December as well. So, and you're in London, I'm in Toronto, so
it's a little bit of a stumbling block.
Exactly.
It is a bit of a stumbling.
So if I go, it's going to be
anyway,
for a couple
hopefully
of weeks.
I mean, the good thing is, hopefully Eternity from this will then go on tour, and we'll get this production out around the world, and it goes to Canada, and you know, I can meet you there
For sure.
So we're going to get together at some point.
For sure. If it comes to North America, I will.
Or we'll come up with another idea.
Yeah, we'll come up with something else.
I'm sure you will.
Stuart,
But I hope that that anybody that wants to go and see a new piece of work, because for me, it's certainly, even though it's been around a while, for me, still feels like a very new, fresh, vital piece of work, because Tim and I have been writing new songs. The script's changed, and we've got brand new cast. It's a smaller theatre, and also I don't think that we got the chance we deserved the first time around in London. We were kind of just finding our feet with that production when we had to close. So it doesn't feel like it's a revival so much as it's a return to a brilliant idea. And I think now, what I'm really looking forward to with this production is being able to meet an audience that actually turns up knowing a bit more about the show, knowing a bit more about the music, a bit more about me. That'll be really fascinating, because the last time we opened in London, I was, unknown totally. And so was the show, so was the score, so were everybody in it. And it was kind of had to, stand on its own 2 feet. And it was really difficult in lots of ways. But so this time it feels like we've got a bit more of an audience, and we've got some super fans out there, wonderful supporters who I can't thank enough. They've really been extremely supportive through the years. We haven't been able to get it back into London. So, and I also, before we end, want to say one thing about Darius Campbell, who's our
Yes.
original warden, who sadly passed away the last, like literally a month ago, and it was such a tragedy to hear he died. And I was, quite friendly with him. He was fantastic in our show. He was a great supporter of the piece. He gave 100% every performance, and also behind the scenes, people didn't realize he was really working hard to make that production a hit. And I can't thank him enough for that. And I just really sad I never got a chance to work with him again, because we were discussing doing stuff. But the great thing is, when we did our one night only, he was involved in that.
Yes.
And that was the last time I saw him, and had a good chat with him off, when we were rehearsing and all of that. So I thank you for that, because without that, I wouldn't have been able to kind of say goodbye to him. So just want to thank Darius, wherever he is now, and he's listening in, for being such a great supporter. And it's so sad. And also give my sympathies to his parents and his family, because they're lovely people. And he was a real charmer. He was a lovely, lovely chap.
100%.
Sadly missed.
100% true. Yeah, I remember meeting him just briefly, but it was great to meet him that day. So, Stuart, thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure.
To us again, and you're always welcome anytime on the show.
Oh, thank you. You've been honestly a wonderful supporter to new work. Your show's fantastic. I mean, the idea is, you just work so hard at getting new musicals and new musical people and writers, giving them a chance to express themselves. And I can't thank you enough. I think it's fantastic what you've done, and your show's amazing, and you're just a really great guy. So hopefully we're going to meet soon and have that pint of beer together, or a cup of tea.
I'm more of a tea guy, so we'll do that.
Take care. Yeah.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Thank you. So we were just speaking with Stuart Brayson, the composer of the upcoming production of From Here to Eternity. So if you are in London, in the UK, in October, November, or December of 2022, make sure you go check that out. It'll be so exciting. I wish I could make it, and who knows, maybe something will happen. We're not sure, but you make sure if you are around, go check that out. All right. My name is Jean-Paul Jovanoff. Tune in next week, as we'll be speaking with another guest or guest about their life, love, and passion here on Be Our Guest. And until then, my friends, I'll see you when I see you.